Hello, everybody. So we're just going to give the rest of the attendees a couple of minutes to get into the roundtable, and then we'll start everything up. Hopefully everyone's having a really great Thursday, almost the weekend.
Summer is flying by for all of us.
Isn't it? I think, and so you were saying that you were experiencing a bit of a heat wave. I know Toronto has a bit of one too.
Yeah, it's been a toasty one for sure. I was speaking to someone out in Vancouver who was saying, "Oh, it's finally warm and we've had rain." I was like, I think we would welcome rain at this point. It's been a toasty summer here.
We've been begging for rain. Of course, we've had a drought here in Colorado, so anytime we get any amount of rain, we're just so happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had that experience too. It's been quite a toasty couple of weeks here. I was talking to a few colleagues in partnerships in the UK, and they're experiencing quite the heat wave as well.
Oh yeah, there was a whole thing about that. They were getting some of the hottest temperatures they ever had, but had within any recent huge amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think on record, it's been the hottest summer in the UK ever.
At least here we don't have the humidity, so it doesn't have quite the same consequence, but warm is warm.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody will be begging for fall when we get to all the events that we have coming up. I don't know if any of you guys are registered for any of the CSA events that we have coming up in fall, but there's a ton. We're going to be at Inbound, we'll be at SaaStr, we'll be at Dreamforce. So lots of places, if you're going to any of those events, to come in, connect with your fellow members. We are also going to be having a meetup in Toronto next month, more on that to come. So if you're in the area, definitely make sure that you join us. We'll send out the registration link so that everybody has all the information. That'll come either at the end of this week, tomorrow, or early next week.
Is there an event in September coming up?
There is an event in September, so we'll be at Inbound. Yes, we'll also be at Dreamforce and we'll be at SaaStr. So SaaStr will be, I believe that's the 13th to the 15th. We'll have a meetup in the middle of that time. And then Dreamforce is, I believe, the 20th to the 22nd. And we'll also be doing a meetup for everybody at that time as well.
I think Inbound is the week before SaaStr.
It is, yeah. Busy September.
Busy September. They should know end of quarters are not the best time to travel.
I know. It's funny because Inbound is always around Labor Day as well. And then anybody who has families, all their kids are going back to school.
Yeah.
All right. So we're about 5 after the hour. There's a few more people who will be joining us, but this is a really great group. I'd love if everybody could turn on their cameras and unmute themselves. I'd love them to be part of the conversation. I want to make sure that you guys are all connecting with each other. This is the first SaaS Connect roundtable that we've ever had virtually, as if you've been to SaaS Connect and you've participated in them with us. But we want these to continue happening as we kind of go through the motions at CSA as things update and change in partnerships. And for today, we've got 2 amazing leaders. We've got Kristine Stewart and Nicolette Lopes leading the conversation today around growing partnerships and ecosystems. And what I'd really love today is for everybody to dig into the conversation and really, learn a little bit from each other, pass on information, and, keep the conversation going with CSA. If you do have any suggestions for roundtables, anything that you'd really love to talk about with your peers, I'm on Slack. Make sure that you're in the Slack community and please send them over to me. We will also be recording this session today so that anybody who's missed out on it or would like to hear the conversation will have access to it later in the membership. So I'm going to hand things off to our great roundtable leaders and we'll get going.
Wonderful. Yeah. So Kristine, maybe we do a quick round of introductions on ourselves and then we can go around and get to know everyone as well. Really, we'd love to know a little bit about yourselves, the roles that you're currently in, and also what you're looking to chat through today. Amongst the roundtable, we want to make sure that we're covering topics that are relevant and important to everyone right now and what they're currently dealing with. So I'll go first. My name is Nicolette, Manager of Channel Partnerships at PartnerStack. We're a PRM, so a partner relationship management tool, also responsible for partner programs. So that goes through our affiliate referral type partnerships as well. It's a little bit about me. I'm Toronto based as well. Kristine, I'll pass it off to you.
Thanks, Nicolette. Yeah, welcome everybody. We're so glad to have you here. My name's Kristine Stewart. I have my own consulting firm. It's called the Lexington Group, completely specializing kind of in the area of partnering, ecosystems now, as we're often referring to the space that we're in. And I've been doing this for about 7 or 8 years. Prior to that, worked at a variety of different IT companies, including 13 years at Cisco Systems, running channels, sales, marketing, alliances, kind of a roundabout tenure that I served there. So again, looking forward to being here with you guys. And if we could, we were just hoping to just start off and have each one of you just, give us your name, your company, and maybe just tell us something that's kind of a biggest challenge that you're having right now in your role. And we're going to kind of keep track of those and make sure that, maybe we can bring all those up. The idea is not, really for Nicolette and myself to, to be the, running the table here for you, so to speak. We'd really like to have you guys share and learn from each other as well. So if we could just maybe go around the room and just let everybody introduce themselves and their challenges.
I can go ahead. I'm actually part of the PartnerStack team here. So I work with Nicolette. I wanted to support and join and also learn since she was one of the first members of our team. I'd say the biggest challenge and something I'm really hoping to learn as a channel manager at PartnerStack is, once you're working with an agency or a consultant or reseller, whoever, how do you really scale that relationship over time so that, you have like reliable pipeline and builds that trust and build that relationship over a longer term for more sustainable partnership versus, some of those like initial first few months, which might be a little bit easier to kind of get off the ground.
Great. Thank you. Danielle?
I'm a GSI director over at Okera. We're in the data access space, and I'm fascinated by ecosystems and how prevalent this vein has become in partnerships as a strategy. And I'm curious what it means to all of you, and also how you're getting your executives on board with it.
Great question. That's one Nicolette and I'd already talked about that we wanted to discuss within this group to get everybody's thoughts on that. Michael?
All right. Well, hi there.
Hey there.
All right. Hi, I'm Michael Williams. I'm also with PartnerStack, new to PartnerStack, but Kristine, you and I knew each other from our days at Cisco.
Is that right?
A long time, 20-year veteran of channels and Disty with Cisco. So hello.
Cool. We'll have to talk offline and catch up.
Absolutely. So, again, I work with Nicolette and the team there at PartnerStack, and we're starting to move into connecting, ecosystems of ecosystems together. And one of the challenges there is as you start to move into new revenue streams, especially with distributors and even hyperscalers, it's a learning curve, even for the salespeople within the ecosystem. And I'm just wondering, how other people in the roundtable, how they, kind of navigate around that, because, you have to, in some cases, introduce the ecosystem partner into new revenue streams and make them understand that. And then at the same time, you are enabling those new ecosystems to connect to each other as well. So there's kind of two parts of training that have to take place and learnings as you're trying to manage the ecosystems connecting together.
Okay. McKinsey?
Yeah, hi. So I'm newer to our partnerships team over here at VigCruiter. We're in the HR software space to kind of accelerate hiring speeds, time to hire, and ultimately just make it a little bit more cost effective for HR teams. So then I transferred over from our sales team into the partnerships team. So I'm really just here to kind of learn and kind of starting to build out the ecosystem that we're really trying to work with within our partners.
Cool. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah, hi everyone. I lead alliances and partnerships here at Caspio. We're a low-code, no-code platform. And one topic that I'm interested in personally is how do we enable our partners and the ecosystem to grow our shared business, basically partner source, partner influence revenue, as well as the revenue that partners can generate from us. Because that finally, at the end of the day, becomes the one overarching kind of metric to judge the ROI of the alliances initiative.
Thank you, Nick. Brendan?
So Brendan, I head up partnerships at Scylla. Scylla is essentially a banking as a service platform. And I would like to learn if anyone has solved the riddle on how we talk about a partnership ecosystem a lot. But my question would be, how do you win over the hearts and minds of product engineering to support those integrations that are necessary?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a really good one.
That's a very good one. Yeah. Nicolette, I know one of the first things, and I think it's kind of come up with that we wanted to ask everybody was where, do you guys report? How does that work within your organization? Nicolette, what were you thinking from that question too that you wanted from it? But it's an organizational related question.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times, especially in either smaller organizations or organizations where they're not 100% channel driven, channel or partnerships tends to be a function of usually something in the revenue team. And for a lot of those organizations, trying to get executive and internal buy-in and into a few questions that we've had here, not just executive buy-in, but also product and different divisions whose support we need. Would love to just start out by talking through what are we doing internally to get that buy-in in order to actually start building these divisions from the ground up.
Let me start with just some thoughts there. I mean, what we've seen, Nicolette, and you're probably aware of this too, is some people have done, Right Up have done some, surveys and such on this. Jay McBain talks about this, so you'll probably hear me bring him up. By the way, you guys, just to tell you if you go to my LinkedIn profile, pinned at the top, I posted a paper on ecosystems called the Ecosystems, the New Partner Imperative. And I did it about 2 weeks ago in partnership with, I'm actually on the Channel Chief Advisory Board with another PRM vendor and partner, and I've done that for a while. And so they just sponsor it, but it's my, I own that IP on that. But it does cover a lot of topics. And the very first topic, amazingly enough, is organization, right? And Jay has a quote, and I think it changes on a regular basis of how many people now have partnership in their titles, and how many, ecosystems in their titles, and how many have ecosystems in describing what they do. And we all know, there's just a million jobs out there in LinkedIn and doing what we do. So everyone here on this call, feel really good. You've got amazing job security, and you're in a space that's super hot and that is also, in my opinion, a fun space to be. It typically, coming from the OG side of things, it's reported into this kind of function, has reported into oftentimes into sales, into the global sales organizations. But you'll also see, again, depending on company size, it report sometimes into the CMO, occasionally into a chief operations role. All of us, I think, would be in agreement that we believe it should report in the importance of partnering, should report in at the highest level of the company, right? At the CEO level. And so in some areas that's happening and in some it's not. But I'd love to hear, where do you guys report in within your company structure? Like Brendan, where do you report?
I report to the CRO.
Yeah, so
we're 75 people, so I probably speak to half of the company on. You
get access no matter what.
Any 3-day period. So I have 75 bosses is the way I look at it, but I report to one.
Okay, cool. Anybody else want to talk to where they sit organizationally?
It's interesting because when I was heading partnerships with my colleague Evan, who was part of CSA as well, it moved. When we first started the company, I was running partnerships and we reported to the CEO of the company. And then as we grew, we ended up reporting to our CMO. And then actually it moved to sales and we started reporting to the CRO. So it was really within a 5-year period as the partner program grew and changed, and as we evolved it, the leadership that we reported to updated as well. And I am curious if that's happened to anybody else throughout their partnership relationship as that's happened with the company. Has it shifted?
And also one other question I'll kind of layer into that as well is, because I think we do see that a lot. And so as you're shifting divisionally in terms of where the team is rolling up to, are you still getting that internal buy-in from the executives to, continue on the path that you're on, or are you very quickly being hit with different, revenue expectations or ROI timelines that may not be aligned with the path that you have currently?
I feel somebody wanting to answer this question out there, like Michael. I feel like Michael wants to answer this. He just does.
I don't know if I have an answer for it. I think as companies, the term ecosystem is new to a lot of people and kind of the understanding of it. But I do believe that more and more companies and executives understand the critical role that they play. It helps a lot of other companies, especially newer companies, understand how you work together with other solutions to solve customers' problems and drive to successful outcomes. Partnerships were really kind of more hierarchical structure, 1 tier, 2 tier, where we look at how partnerships have evolved, and there's kind of no one size fits all. They go across from just standard product sales to integration to services to consulting, and all those are part of an ecosystem, and all of those are important. And I think that the title ecosystem really helps. I think the executives, the outside organization, understand that the company is embracing partnerships in general. And they're focused on it. They're focused on growing and having a say-so in who is affiliated, influencing your product, making sure that they have the right information. Because as we've seen, customers have access to a lot of information. And they make buying decisions a lot of different ways, how they start the buying decision, how they evaluate products. And if you don't have a say-so in and how those customers or you at least understand how your customers are understanding your technology, and you're not including those people in your ecosystem, you're not going to have as much success. And I think companies are embracing that. They're embracing not just the resale model, but the affiliate model and the referral model, because that's key to owning your customers, to understanding your customers, and having a little more control in the sales cycle.
Well said.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some interesting stuff, and I'm in the data space, which is like very fast growing. And I'm sure everybody's seeing this in their space, though. Like, there's just so many ISVs, there's so much tech, there's so many companies. And I don't find I'm in a deal with 2 partners anymore. I'm in a deal with 3 partners, right? Because the thing is that my product team can't possibly evolve our product. We're about the same size as Silo. We're about 60 people, so they can't fill those product gaps without other ISVs that are specializing, say, in data quality or data catalog. So why would my product team try and build that if there are companies that are really focused on that particular niche? And so I'm just seeing that it's not any 1 + 1 is 3, that's our partner mantras. It's like 1 + 1 + 1 that I'm seeing it. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that as well. That's kind of why I wanted to hear what sort of trends you guys are seeing in ecosystems.
I think it'd be interesting too, because I think from the technology perspective, one thing that often comes up pretty early in those situations, where you're talking about those 3 or several different partners that are coming together to fill that product gap. What are the conversations around exclusivity of that partnership? Preventing those brands from going and partnering with the competitors and making that available. Is that something that you're getting asked from the partners a lot? Is it something that you're requesting of those partners? Like, how do you kind of facilitate that? And Brendan, I assume to the topic of how do we get product buy-in, is that maybe something that they're saying, hey, if we had that exclusivity, we may be more inclined to consider the total accessible market differently?
I see no loyalty.
Yeah.
I'm going to say zero exclusivity is offered or even suggested. And I work in fintech, and it's the weirdest industry where the biggest competitors are also commonly partners. So we may offer 5 services that our competitor offers, but we have one that they don't have. So they'll partner with us and share that customer with us for that one feature that we provide. So it's a really weird space we're in. We are very, competitively cooperative.
Yeah, that competition thing. Yeah. Exclusivity seems to go, completely against the whole grain of ecosystems and partnering, right? I mean, you have to find ways through deal registrations and other things and even maybe ways that you point to certain partners and certain solutions. But, I see that ecosystems, a key part of why it became, this isn't rocket science here. It's not like this unbelievable, thing that we've never heard of or thought about. Michael may know that at Cisco, you had a global partner organization, and then you had something called ecosystems and alliances kind of organization. And those were more of the technical relationships, but they were very much, separate. And I think because of the focus in the last several years on customer experience by many companies, and the focus on, hey, we can, especially for smaller companies, that we only can do so much, right? And then we've, let's figure out what our core delivery is here from a technology standpoint. Then find these other ISVs and service providers and whatever kind of other partners to deliver on our solution, and then let's, partner with them. And so when you're talking to your product teams, you have to sell that story of, you want to sell more of your product, right? To sell more of it, people want to buy a solution. They're looking for a business outcome. Let's do a workshop and talk about what other kind of solutions surround that product or solution that you're building, right? And then how can we go to market with those folks? And take it even further when you figure out, like, what are if you're staying kind of in this like customer lifetime value and you don't want to churn them out, you want to make sure they renew when it's time, like you have to have them adopting and using the product, right? So that's why we have customer success at many of our companies, right? So to make sure that these people are using the product, and then hopefully even upgrading to the next level of product or adding on the next new set of features. Well, some of those features that need to be turned on in our product are turned on because of our relationship or our integration with someone else. Yeah. So the more that, and again, I'm Brendan, we must all love you because we point some of our stuff to you, but I'm thinking about what you're going through. And that's what you really do, is you sit down with those product people and really say, here's how we sell more of your product. And it's with these kinds of partners. And it's not always easy, right? You guys are talking about scaling partners, some partners you'll have an excellent relationship with, and then you'll say, why was that so good? How can I repeat that and make that replicable with some of my other partners? That's a big piece of it as well.
I'll just speak to the one thing I'm kind of repeatedly told when I'm looking for an integration with a partner. It's like, bring a business case, support it with the revenue on the investment, and we will roadmap it. The hard part is often it's hard to quantify what you don't know before you do it. So that's sometimes the biggest challenge. But I'm open to suggestions, advice, whatever you got.
Yeah, it doesn't fix it, but I mean, in a scenario where this is performing well, the people who own the product and solutions, and they typically also own the P&L for that product, right? They want to sell more, so they are typically the people that are figuring out, how do I sell more of this than just selling it as our own? They're the ones coming up with business cases and typically going to their partner organization or their ecosystem organization and say, I need partners that do this thing. I could sell more if I had integrators that did this, or if I had professional services organizations that did this, or if I had consulting agencies that were partnered with HubSpot, and they would be great partners to identify for our stuff. Right? They would get that. But in lieu of that, you've got to really, put a couple together where they start to believe in you, and then it'll start turning around and they'll start thinking of it themselves as they see, revenue grow based on partnerships. I mean, that's what I think. Anyone else have experience, with that? With their working with their product organizations?
I think you see that not just in the product organization, you see that within the company and the company itself and the partnerships. As ecosystems grow, right, there's a level of trust that I think ecosystems or an expectation of when you bring an ecosystem together. It's the same thing when you partner, right? You ultimately want to build that level of trust, and most people think, in order to build that, you need to have control. You don't necessarily have to have control. You have to understand what the customer's needs are. And when you provide that, whether you do that from a product standpoint, whether you're honest about that these are the features that we don't have. Here's what another integration with another company that's very similar that helps you deliver the outcome. You win that trust with that customer. You also win that trust with those other partners, maybe down the line, the partner that's integrating, the partner that's delivering the solution, the managed service provider. They're listening to you, and they're listening to you be honest about helping to deliver a customer outcome, and they'll remember those. And the ecosystem helped bring those things together. But if you're upfront and you're honest on what you can deliver, and you listen to what the customers need, and you bring those together through your ecosystems, I think you'll get benefit, you'll get value, and it'll pay off, because down the line, those partners who will want to partner with you, those other software companies, those influencers up and down the line, and your customer will be the ones who go back and say, this is a great product, this is a great company, this is a great person, because they helped deliver an outcome for me. And they did it, even though they could have done the traditional way, blocked out me or not deliver the solution that I wanted. They helped me to get to the right outcome. And I think that level of trust you can build in by showing how ecosystems partnerships work together to deliver it.
And I think it's I think it's a little bit, Michael, to your point, a little bit of a chicken and the egg. I think if you're in an organization where your executive team is bought into the concept of ecosystems, especially right now in the macro environment that we're in, they're throwing everything they can at that because they think that's a better CAC. They think that's a better investment for the growth of a company, and that's great. But when we're talking about an organization where that may not be the case, they may want a little bit more of a solid ROI to, let's say, deploy those product resources and not 20 sprints from now, but like this quarter or this term. That's always a bit of a tough buy-in. I think someone also mentioned earlier looking through partner sourced versus partner influenced revenue. I think in those cases, being able to take a little bit of that step back and look at maybe holistically, okay, let's get those easy wins with, as Michael's talking about, maybe affiliate more top of funnel type partners and show that, hey, partners are contributing to overall revenue within the org. And maybe that gets to 10, 15, 20% of your company's revenue. You can then point to that to say, hey, this is why we need product resources or marketing heads or dedicated heads in-house to support the 20% of our company's revenue that is coming from these types of partners, versus saying, okay, we'll get it in a product sprint, but maybe it's 9 months from now, and then we're going to need another 6 months to start showing revenue. So that kind of brings me to the whole leading indicator concept that we work through. The earlier we can show success of the plans that we're taking to market before just that end result of partner revenue, like what are some of those ways in which we're showing success to our executive team to get that continued buy-in and support?
Nobody wants to take that one.
Everyone's got their own little way to do it.
Yes, I mean, it's hard, right? So do some of you have just, and again, it's not a judgment because everyone is trying to figure this out. Everyone. I mean, and I talk to people at companies that are very mature and they still are like, you start talking about that, you just get this shaking head of like, well, we can identify, partner source because we can tag them, in our CRM, and then we're starting to identify, co-developed solutions with technology partners, but we're, not to the point that we can fully tag, the revenue delivered through those because they go off into additional partners and it's hard for us to grab those. So, I mean, even just talk about kind of what you're starting to think about, even if you don't have it completely figured out. If you have to go in front of your boss or, some of the other 75 people that Brendan has to talk to every day. What do you say when you're saying, hey, here's the good things that we're doing to like show them the progress being made in partnering or alliances or wherever you're at? So like Nick, what kind of conversations do you have?
Well, in terms of metrics, I mean, we show the full funnel in terms of trying to show the value. Again, just to give some context, which might help inform this, is that we at Caspio have been around for more than 20 years now. So we got our start in the year 2000, but our partner program is less than a year old. So when I was brought on board 1 year back, so it's always been a direct sales motion. So just getting this whole mindset of, we want to be more friendly towards partners, avoiding channel conflict, all of that is still new to the rest of the organization. So in terms of some of the metrics that we portray to the rest of the team, we start from the very, the whole funnel approach. Like we're having these many discussions with prospective partners. This is how many partners signed up. These are how many partners we're doing onboarding and enablement sessions for. This is how many certifications or certified developers those partners in turn have certifying. And then this is the pipeline they're bringing in terms of number of deals and dollar value. And here are how many deals we closed to show the whole full funnel approach. I don't know if that helps.
No, exactly. That's a good place to start, especially for a company that's been primarily direct in its whole existence. McKinsey, what do you guys look at?
Yeah, for us right now, with this kind of being a newer venture within the company, also roughly about probably 2 years old now. So we're basically, are we getting listed on other places, marketplaces like for ADP, SAP, those are kind of the big ones that we really focus on. And then it's also building out those relationships directly with the reps. And then, okay, are they taking that step forward, getting enabled, and then also sending us referrals? So very similar to Nick, it's really based off that, okay, we got the top of the funnel where we're listed on the store. Let's get the reps enabled. Let's get the reps referring, and then go from there.
Is your marketplace relationship have any transactional capability to it, or is it all informational?
Yeah, so it's probably more transactional than anything. We're more so going referral and then also go referral backwards towards the end result for SAP or Smart Recruiters are another big one for us. And then ADP has been pretty well developed. That's not so much the issue, but it's definitely more on the transactional side. And then kind of having the rep integrated with that next step of, okay, we're going to demo, the rep's going to say, this is where this can really come into play to help your organization excel a little further.
Excellent. Danielle, what do you look to from a metric or, kind of objectives kind of standpoint that
I remember I worked
Progress.
with the big GSIs, so the journey is long and can be painful.
Yeah,
I mean,
very
sometimes
painful.
it literally is just like, do we have the NDA? Like, did they take the time to sign it? That sort of thing. Because I know I'm not getting to any deal unless I get that. So that's a first step. And then targets, leads. Probably put a lead in Salesforce. I like to track it as early as possible because then my marketing team is like, "Oh my God, we got this great lead through." I'm like, "Yeah, my partner talked to them for 3 weeks, so no." So and then yeah, just opportunity attribution. I mean, I'm kind of in that sales, I'm in the sales org. I report to the president CRO. So it's really just following the pipeline. But for me, that partner pipeline kind of starts more with bit of formality like NDAs.
I know all of you are reasonably young in your partner organizations, and that's the case with a lot of folks. Are any of you doing anything that would be, I'm going to use, air quotes here, kind of co-selling type activity with any of your partner at all? Not necessarily maybe in a super official way, but just starting to figure out common, having calls with them, even, identifying, even if you're not doing account, most of you are familiar with the term account mapping, right? And having a third-party data escrow service like a Crossbeam or a Reveal or PartnerTap or somebody actually do, account mapping between your companies. But do you do anything to identify potential joint prospects that you want to go after together kind of discussions? I'm going to say that's a negative on that.
Tara's done some.
That's strategic. That's a very strategic activity.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do it, but that as they do it as a strategy, a documented strategy, I think that's more when you get to kind of a grow motion and as programs mature. I think there's a lot of sales motions that happen at the transaction, but they're not always documented. Because in a lot of cases, they're purely, when you look at a partner program, they're usually, they start off from vendor to partner, maybe partner with a distributor or an aggregator that's in between. But those other roles, the consultants, the influencers, aren't always captured, right? And it's not only are they not captured from a transaction standpoint, they're usually not even identified in the initial, defining your channel, right? We need to have a channel of influencers and consultants along with our partners, integrators, resellers, distributors along that. And that's a tough thing to do, right? Because at some point, you'd love to have everyone influencing your product for free, right? But anyone that consults or influences your products would like to get rewarded for it, right? At some point. The best way would be is if the end user customer rewarded them for the service of helping you define it. But in some cases, if you want them to go and continue to influence across, all the customers or industry that they may have, you need to bring them in, right? And again, they need to develop that trust with you as well. And then you hope that you have a whole network of that, a group of partners across that. And your ecosystem then becomes not just an ecosystem of software or products, it becomes an ecosystem of services, right? As well.
Sometimes the best co-selling is developed if it's not yet done at the corporate, team, the global team's program or strategy level. It happens organically in the field, right? In much to what you say. I mean, everything we do ultimately is led from the customer out, right? So if one of our account execs, not even a person that's in the partner organization, is at an account and they find out that, to deliver our product on this solution also requires this, and the other, and another company or a partner from another company is coming in on that deal, you identify potential partnerships right there, because you're not going to close your end of the deal unless this other part of the solution is served by some other company and or their partner that you may not be aware of, but you may become entirely friendly with out in the field to help close your deal. And some of our best salespeople are just super good at making that happen, right? They just pull together the right people necessary to make that deal close. And it's like you said, it's not officially called co-selling, but that's exactly what it is.
Daniel, I think you said it right. Sometimes the inside sales organization or sales organization will say, hey, look at this lead. You go, no, my partner has been working on that for 3 weeks or months ago, right? They're focused on delivering the solution, right? And we're part of that, right? So, that, and I think the ones that are most successful, one, understand that they're part of the solution, embrace that, and then help develop it afterwards, right? Maybe the first time you've ever had an opportunity to work with a partner or been introduced in by a consultant, but it's what you do with that opportunity, right? Develops that level of trust with you, and they want to become your partner. Even Brittany, you talked about, the fact that, there may be a product where you have 5 features and someone else has a different feature, right? And it may be, bringing you into a solution that you never thought your product could do, right? And that brings about an opportunity, right? Someone figured it out, right? Let's embrace that, and let's see if there's some other customers are there that we can go after. And it allows you at some point, there may be, as you said, there's this feature that someone else had that you didn't think it had a lot of value, but someone brought you an opportunity that there's that feature. And then it gives you that opportunity to test that, to see if it's something where, well, this is not enough that we need to build a feature. Let's have some more deeper integrations and partnerships to be able to sell that way. Or again, if there's one that there is opportunity there, it allows you to have a business case to go back to your product development teams.
Exactly.
Yep.
That is like such a good point, because that success, you spin that, this is like kind of this flywheel thing that gets talked about in ecosystems a lot. You spin that story back to the product team and say, here's an example of what happens, right? You spin it back to the sales organization. Here's an example of what happens. You spin it back to the marketing organization and say, what do we learn from this? And how do we turn this into a marketing/sales offer and make it replicable? If there's one partner doing this, you guys, there's hundreds potentially of other partners, depending on what kind of solution we're talking about. There's other partners do that, turn that into an offer, say, what was the thing that closed it? Well, if we gave some kind of a fee to a service partner to help them, because they were ultimately what needed to close it. Whatever is the story behind that success story, that somebody takes that and turns it and makes it so that we can do it 10, 50 more times.
Yeah, I think, and Mike, you may have mentioned this earlier, the element of control and how, letting go of that actually allows a lot more of the shown success, because we know these partners are hovering our organization today, and they're supporting and they're making new clients come to us. Danielle, like your point, where they're having those conversations weeks prior to, but in your Salesforce, that's showing as an outbound, organic lead, most likely, or an inbound marketing. So how do we actually build that story more concisely to show, these people are already here, they're behind the scenes, they're not the hero ringing the bell in the 11th hour, but they're making these clients come to us and close out much faster. So I think a lot of it comes back to, and one thing with ecosystems is, I think there's a bit of a misconception that, new ecosystems means new relationships to get into new markets. And I kind of look at it, and absolutely there's value there, but also seeing, well, let's look at the relationships that we have and taking those deeper. So, okay, maybe our partners that are historically only doing deal registration with us because they're MSP partners. Well, how do we get those partners affiliate links as well to say, bake this into what you're already doing so we can track that? It doesn't need to go anywhere. It doesn't mean we're cutting out the sales or the marketing team, but we're able to show more of that success. So Brendan, when you're looking for that product support, you can say, well, this is already happening in the background today. I was speaking with Ty Lingley, who's head of partnerships over at Ally, about this. And this is something that they went through their Slack records at one point, and they found hundreds of situations where the customer success team or the support team was coming saying, hey, we just spoke to a customer. They really want to introduce us to someone. Who should I loop in? And it goes to the sales team and it shows as an inbound lead. And they took all that data and they turned that into, well, look, we have a customer referral program here, ready to go. These people already are working with us. How do we make that more formalized and just take those relationships deeper? Any topics, any challenges that we feel like we maybe didn't cover that we want to kind of close out on? Kristine, anything on your side?
I was just looking, and I was, kind of had just quickly written down what each person had brought up. Nick, did we kind of cover your question? I know you're so early in what you're doing, Nick, that your point had been about enabling partners to grow with us. What kind of are you challenged right now in having an enablement program to like kind of bring your partners up to speed on how they can sell with you, or understanding your products? I know you said you have certifications and stuff. What other things are you trying to figure out there?
No, I guess maybe I maybe just wanted to hear thoughts from other peers on how they're doing some of this stuff. We do have so I have an enablement manager dedicated full time to enabling our partners in my team, and overall we are arming them. I know you mentioned the question of co-selling, so we are, in fact, our focus has entirely been on the solution partners or consulting partners, less so on the technology partners, because integrations is a nightmare at our end. So, and the engineering teams are quite backlogged again. So, in terms, we do, in fact, many of our partners tend to be the small and mid-sized consulting firms. We, in fact, even help them with training them on outbound business development, etc. Then bring in vertical specialized partners in on RFPs or deals where we think we might have a better chance of closing that deal together, or even geography-based partners, like a partner who's in Germany might have a better shot at closing a deal with a German prospect, etc. So those are things that we are doing, but I just wanted to maybe, was just curious on what others are doing and enabling partners faster and growing that joint revenue. But this was good. I mean, overall, this discussion was useful. It's good to connect with all of you.
That is a whole session in itself, and Nicolette, I'm sure you have from PartnerStack's view on this. I would just say one thing is that people are realizing more and more that the old days of, I'm not saying certifications are going away, because there's certain things we need to feel comfortable that our partners understand our technology, and we need to at least assess their capabilities if they're service. It depends on the type of partnership they have with us, right? But the focus is starting really to go around, and there's more platforms enabling this for kind of giving partners the right training and enablement at the time that they need it, right? So you may have them take some training, but you provide them little bite-sized pieces of it. And there's technologies now, of course, where they can see that on their mobile devices and such, and they can, just look at it very quickly and go, okay, these are the 5 things I need to remember before I go into this call, or these are the things I need to bring up, or just, you see my point, right? Just looking at some of that capability of not saying, okay, well, these guys are at this stage in their journey with me as partners because they completed this, they completed check, check, check. It's more like make it available long-term and make it easy, and tell them, these are the times when you want to go grab this little 5-minute piece of enablement. That's kind of where things are going right now, Nick.
Something that's interesting with this roundtable and that I've pulled out from listening to all of you is that we've, throughout this conversation, identified, one, why partnerships are important to all of our companies. As a lot of you mentioned, you're owning young partnership programs, but you also really went through how to grow them, and then that next stage from that start mode into that growth mode. And you've all kind of covered this from your own experience in this roundtable. So in terms of why partnerships are important, how to start and how to grow, is there one area of those 3 kind of pillars that we could elaborate on for a future roundtable?
I think incentives and compensation, right? Because that's always a difficult thing to kind of build in, because it's not always defined, right? whether I think it's a lot easier to do from a referral motion, because you can set, hard referral incentives. And that's actually, I think, a better way to approach it up front, that they kind of know up front, versus ones that are deal specific, because, you get a lot more leads, I think, that way, right? And I think in a lot of cases, more customers would be more partners, or more partners who would influence. You give them not a one size fits all. They have lots of customers who they like to spend a lot of time with, and other ones who say, hey, what do you think about what accounting package I should use, right? Here's 2 or 3, and you send 2 or 3 to them, but you don't, they know, that they're not going to pay you for your consulting time, right? And then other ones that you want to bring into your partner program, because those are the ones that want to, spend time, or that have the influence on customers that can bring you, large opportunities. And, those are the ones you want to partner with. So to figure out a compensation model that's different from your regular sales compensation model, your regular channel partner compensation model, it's a new model. And I think that's one that, who does it fall into? Does it fall into the sales leader, traditional channel leader? Does the ecosystem leader have to bring those into it? And then what kind of data and facts do they need to be able to support it? All right.
Yeah, I love that. To go off what you just said, thinking narrowly about my role specifically, I work with so many different types of partners, and being able to kind of bucket them into their own groups, and then identify campaigns or incentives that apply to those groups specifically, because, one agency might not respond to a spiff campaign or whatever we're organizing the same way that, maybe a much larger agency might. And so identifying how we bucket that, what works. I don't know if that's something that's, really PartnerStack specific, or if there's like trends and things that we can kind of thread together as a group in identifying those types of commissions, incentives, spiffs. But that's something I'd be definitely interested in learning more about.
It's not specific to you. Everyone is kind of struggling through that right now.
I would just add maybe something around engagement and how do you stay top of mind with your partners without being annoying. What's a good meeting cadence with your better partners? How do you get your weaker partners to become your better partners? Kind of that. How do you get the flywheel spinning? And just, I've been doing this for a year and a half at Scylla. Started the program, signed about 50 partners. I have about 10 that matter. And I have regular meetings with them, weekly, bi-weekly. And those are going great. And then I would even add on the engagement side, how do you get past the gatekeeper who is your counterpart at your partner organization, down to the salespeople as well, because often they kind of stop you and say, give me the information, I'll give it to them. And how much is actually getting decimated down to them. And I think that would be an important topic to cover at some point too.
That's a good one. Well, the quick one on that is you got to give them the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are excellent topics. We'll definitely explore those in other roundtables. We just have a few minutes left, so I'm going to throw it back to our roundtable leaders. If there's anything you guys want to end on for this roundtable, it's been incredible to have all of you. This conversation will be really powerful for anybody looking to grow their ecosystem, and it will be available to all of the members in the coming week. So you'll be able to take a look back on it and send it to your other members in case they missed any of it. But those are amazing topics. And I just want to thank you all so much for being part of the first roundtable. And if you have interest in leading one, or if you have somebody who you would think would be a great leader for the roundtable, please send them my way on Slack. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.